I stood frozen in the hallway of my childhood home 3 days before Christmas. I had arrived early to help with decorations. Through the cracked door of the dining room, I heard my mother Carol's voice, cold and calculated, discussing plans with my older brother Derek and sister-in-law Amber. They were plotting to humiliate me publicly at Christmas dinner in front of extended family. The words finally put him in his place and embarrass him so badly hell never show his face again made my blood run cold. I carefully backed away from the door, my heart pounding so hard I thought they might hear it. Each step felt like walking through quicksand. I slipped out the front door as quietly as possible, closing it with barely a click. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my car keys. Once inside my sedan, I gripped the steering wheel and tried to steady my breathing. The December air was freezing, but sweat beaded on my forehead. My name is Ivan, and I am 32 years old. 6 months ago, I thought my life was finally coming together. I had worked my way up to marketing director at a major firm in Seattle. The promotion came after 3 years of 60-hour weeks, weekend campaigns, and countless presentations. I had bought my first house, a modest 3-bedroom place in the suburbs with a small yard and a mortgage that stretched my budget but felt manageable. I had met Jennifer through work, a brilliant woman in our PR department who made me laugh and actually listened when I talked about my day. I thought my family would be proud. I really did, but at Thanksgiving, 6 weeks earlier, I noticed something had changed. My brother Derek, who is 35 and manages a local hardware store, made snide comments throughout dinner. When I mentioned my promotion, he said something about me showing off again and left the table. Our mother Carol, who had always been warm and encouraging, suddenly seemed distant. She kept making remarks about me forgetting where I came from and asking pointed questions about whether I thought I was too good for the old neighborhood now. My father, Frank, a retired electrician with rough hands and a usually gentle demeanor, barely spoke to me that day. He sat in his recliner watching football and only grunted when I tried to engage him in conversation. Derek's wife, Amber, who had been friendly enough over the years, gave me cold looks across the table. Their 2 kids, usually excited to see Uncle Ivan, seemed coached to keep their distance. I left Thanksgiving confused and hurt, but I told myself I was imagining things. Maybe they were just having a bad day. Maybe I was being too sensitive. Now, sitting in my car outside that same house, I realized I had not been imagining anything at all. The conversation I had just overheard played back in my mind with crystal clarity. My mother's voice. "Christmas dinner is the perfect time. Everyone will be there." Derek's response. "I've got the photos ready. Well, project them on the TV during dessert." Amber's laugh, sharp and cruel. And I wrote out the whole speech. "It'll destroy him." They discussed inviting extended family specifically to witness whatever they had planned. Aunts, uncles, cousins. About 25 people total. The plan, from what I could gather, involved publicly revealing what they called embarrassing secrets and proof that my success was fake. They mentioned exposing the truth about his promotion and showing everyone who he really is. What secrets? What proof? My promotion was legitimate. I had earned it through hard work and results. I had increased client retention by 42% in my division. I had brought in 3 major accounts that were still generating revenue. My boss had recommended me personally to the CEO. I started the car and drove aimlessly for 20 minutes before pulling into a coffee shop parking lot. My phone felt heavy in my pocket. I pulled it out and called Jennifer. "Ivan? What's wrong? You sound upset." Her voice was immediate warmth and concern. "I need to tell you something crazy." My voice cracked slightly. I told her everything, the words tumbling out in a rush. The overheard conversation, the planned humiliation, the confusion and betrayal churning in my gut, those absolute. Jennifer's fury on my behalf was fierce and immediate. "You don't have to go. We can spend Christmas together. Just the 2 of us. Skip their toxic nonsense." I sat there in the parking lot, watching strangers go in and out of the coffee shop with their holiday drinks. Oblivious to the crisis unfolding in my car, a thought crystallized in my mind with sudden cold clarity. Running away would give them exactly what they wanted. It would confirm whatever narrative they had built about me, that I was too good for them, that I had abandoned my family for success, that I was ashamed of where I came from. None of those things were true. "No," I said slowly. "I'm not running, but I need to know what they think they have on me." "What do you mean?" "They mentioned proof, photos, secrets." I need to find out what lies they've created. Jennifer was quiet for a moment. Are you thinking what I think you're thinking? I still have my key to the house. They're all out right now for Derek's kid's Christmas pageant at school. I'm going back in. Ivan, be careful. I drove back to my childhood home. My childhood street lined with modest houses decorated with lights and inflatable snowmen. I parked a block away and walked back, looking over my shoulder like a criminal. The irony was not lost on me. I was the one being betrayed. Yet, here I was, sneaking around. The house was empty and silent. I let myself in with my old key and stood in the entryway, listening. Nothing. The Christmas tree lights blinked in the living room, casting colored shadows on the walls. The house smelled like pine and cinnamon, scents that had once meant comfort and now felt tainted. I went upstairs to Derek's old bedroom, which my parents had converted into a storage room years ago. If Derek was planning something, he would have left materials here where he felt safe. I opened the closet and started searching through boxes. It took me 15 minutes to find it. A file folder tucked behind some old photo albums, labeled in Derek's handwriting, "Christmas Surprise." My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were documents that made my blood run cold. Fabricated papers suggesting I had plagiarized my college thesis. The thesis that had taken me 9 months to research and write, that I had defended in front of a panel of professors, that had earned me highest honors in my department. Someone had found an obscure academic paper online and created elaborate documentation to make it look like I had copied it word for word. There were fake emails, supposedly between me and my boss, Patricia Gomez, suggesting I had slept with her to get my promotion. The emails were vulgar and explicit, completely fabricated. The format was wrong, the email addresses slightly off, but to someone not looking carefully, they might seem real. And there were photos, pictures of me at my house, but digitally altered. A sports car photoshopped into my driveway that I did not own. Designer furniture visible through my windows that was not actually there. Luxury items scattered throughout the images to make it look like I was living far beyond my means, drowning in debt to maintain a false image. Derek had spent months creating an elaborate lie. This was not a spontaneous act of cruelty. This was calculated, methodical character assassination. I photographed every page with my phone, my hands steadier now, as shock gave way to cold determination. I noticed details that would prove the forgery. The dates on the thesis plagiarism did not match. The supposed original paper was published 3 months after I had graduated. The email headers were wrong, created with some kind of fake email generator. The photoshopped images had obvious inconsistencies in lighting and perspective, but none of that would matter to family members who wanted to believe the worst. None of that would matter in the moment of public accusation, with everyone staring at me, waiting for me to defend myself against lies. I put everything back exactly as I had found it and left the house. In my car, I sat for a long moment, processing what I had discovered. Then I called Jennifer again. "I found it. You were right. It's worse than I thought." I described everything. Jennifer, who works in PR and crisis management, listened without interrupting. When I finished, she was silent for a moment. "They're planning to assassinate your character," she said finally. "But Ivan, their evidence is garbage. We can turn this around." "How?" "Fight fire with fire. But we use the truth." That night, Jennifer came to my house, and we spread everything out on my kitchen table. The photos of Derek's fake evidence glowed on my laptop screen. We sat there with coffee and determination, building a counterattack. "The thesis plagiarism falls apart immediately," Jennifer said, zooming in on the dates. "The paper they claim you copied was published after you graduated. Any academic can verify your thesis was original." "I can contact my advisor," I said. "Professor Harold Brennan. He retired last year, but remember me. We stayed in touch." "Perfect. We need him on video. A statement from him carries authority." We kept going through the evidence. The fake emails about sleeping with my boss had glaring technical flaws. "These headers are all wrong," Jennifer said, pointing at the screen. "Anyone with basic IT knowledge can see these were generated, not real. Plus, your boss is happily married to a woman. She's been with her wife for 15 years. I can get a statement from HR. My promotion was merit-based and documented. The photoshopped photos were almost laughable once you knew what to look for. The sports car's shadow went the wrong direction. The designer furniture was inconsistent with the room dimensions. Someone had done a decent job, but not good enough to withstand scrutiny. "Here's what I don't understand," I said, leaning back in my chair. Why? Why does Derek hate me this much? Jennifer reached across the table and took my hand. You said something at Thanksgiving triggered this. Think back further. When did things start changing? I closed my eyes and thought. Then it hit me. 5 years ago. Derek asked me to invest in a business venture. A sports bar franchise. And you said no. I said no because the business plan made no sense. He had no experience in restaurant management. The location he wanted was terrible, right next to 2 other sports bars. The startup costs were astronomical, and his revenue projections were wildly optimistic. I had just started my job and had $60,000 in student loans. I could not afford to throw money at something destined to fail. What happened? He did it anyway. Took out a loan. The place lasted 18 months before going under. He lost everything he invested, plus he was stuck with debt from the loan. And he blamed you. He said if I had believed in family and supported him, it would have succeeded. That my refusal to invest doomed it before it started. My parents sided with him. They said family helps family, no matter what. Jennifer shook her head. So for 5 years, he's been building this resentment. Your success made his failure more painful, and now he wants to tear you down publicly to make himself feel better. That's sick. That's human, unfortunately. Hurt people hurt people. We worked late into the night. I emailed Professor Brennan, explaining the situation. He responded within an hour, outraged on my behalf, and agreed to record a video statement the next day. I reached out to Patricia Gomez from my company's HR department. She was shocked and angry, and immediately agreed to provide documentation and a video statement confirming my promotion was legitimate and merit-based. But Jennifer had another idea. We need an expert, someone who can analyze these fake documents and explain exactly how they were forged. A forensic document examiner. Do you know someone? I know someone who knows someone. Let me make a call. By midnight, we had a plan. By 1 in the morning, Jennifer had connected me with Marcus Chen, a digital forensics expert who had testified in court cases about document fraud. No, wait. I cannot use Chen. Let me revise. By midnight, we had a plan. By 1 in the morning, Jennifer had connected me with Marcus Brenner, a digital forensics expert who had testified in court cases about document fraud. He agreed to examine everything and provide an analysis. This is going to cost money, I warned Jennifer. How much is your reputation worth? Point taken. The next day, I gathered everything. Professor Brennan recorded a 5-minute video statement. Sitting in his home office, surrounded by books, he spoke with the authority of someone who had spent 40 years in academia. I'm Professor Harold Brennan, and I supervised Ivan's senior thesis on contemporary marketing strategies in digital spaces. His work was entirely original and one of the best I've supervised in 30 years of teaching. He spent 9 months on primary research, interviews with industry professionals, and analysis of case studies. Any claim that he plagiarized is absolutely false and, frankly, offensive to both of us. Patricia Gomez provided a written statement on company letterhead, signed and notarized. She also recorded a video. Ivan's promotion to marketing director was based solely on merit. He increased our client retention rate by 42% and brought in 3 major accounts worth over $2 million annually. His work ethic and integrity are beyond reproach. Any suggestion otherwise is defamatory and untrue. Marcus Brenner examined Derek's fake documents with the thoroughness of someone who had done this hundreds of times. He sent me a detailed report and a video explanation, pointing out every flaw in the forgeries. These documents were deliberately created to deceive. The thesis plagiarism claim uses a source document that postdates the supposed plagiarism by 3 months. The email headers are inconsistent with actual corporate email systems. The photographs show clear signs of digital manipulation, with inconsistent lighting, impossible shadows, and perspective errors. These fabrications have no basis in reality. As I compiled everything, my phone rang. It was my cousin Stephanie, Derek's age, someone I had always gotten along with. Ivan, I need to warn you about something, she said, her voice tense. What's going on? Derek's been talking, has been telling everyone in the family that you're a fraud, that you cheated your way through college, that you slept with your boss for your promotion, that you're drowning in debt trying to look successful. My stomach dropped. For how long? Months. Since summer, maybe longer. I didn't believe him, but some people did. Uncle Raymond especially. has been saying, "You got too big for your britches and need to be taken down a peg," and nobody thought to ask me about any of this. Stephanie was quiet for a moment. People believe what they want to believe, I guess. Derek's always been the relatable one. You're the one who moved away, got the fancy job, bought the house. Some people resent that. After we hung up, I sat in silence. The situation was worse than I had thought. This was not just a planned humiliation at Christmas dinner. Derek had been poisoning the family against me for months, laying the groundwork. The Christmas dinner was meant to be the final proof, the moment when all his lies would be confirmed in front of everyone. But it also gave me clarity. This was not about one dinner. This was about reclaiming my reputation and setting boundaries. This was about standing up for myself, no matter the cost. Jennifer found me sitting on my couch, staring at nothing. "You okay?" Stephanie called. "Derek's been spreading these lies for months. Half the family already believes him a fraud. Then we give them the truth they can't ignore." We spent another day preparing. I had my college thesis printed and bound, with the original approval signatures from my thesis committee. I had my financial records, showing I lived modestly within my means. I had my actual car registration, my mortgage documents showing reasonable debt, my credit score proving financial responsibility. And I had one more idea: a video compilation. Everything in one place. Professor Brennan's statement, Patricia's statement, Marcus' forensic analysis, and footage of my actual life, my real house, my real car, my real work achievements, including awards and recognition from my company. We burned everything onto a USB drive. We also created printed packets for each family member, evidence they could hold in their hands and examine themselves. On Christmas Eve, my mother called. Her voice was sweet, almost cloying. "Ivan, sweetheart, you're still coming tomorrow, right?" I forced warmth into my voice. "Of course, Mom. I wouldn't miss it. I'm even bringing a special gift for everyone." "Oh, how thoughtful. I can't wait to see you." I could hear Derek laughing in the background, a sound that made my skin crawl. They thought they had won already. They thought I was walking into their trap, clueless and unprepared. Let them think that. Jennifer and I worked late into Christmas Eve night. She helped me rehearse what I would say. We anticipated their attacks and prepared responses. We organized the evidence packets, each one labeled with a family member's name. 25 packets total. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Jennifer asked as midnight approached. "Once you blow up their plan, there's no going back. Your relationship with them will never be the same. It's already not the same. They made sure of that, but this will make it permanent." I thought about it. Really thought about it. Part of me wanted to just walk away, cut them off, never speak to them again. But another part of me, the part that remembered Derek teaching me to ride a bike, Mom's chocolate chip cookies after school, Dad taking us fishing on summer weekends, that part wanted to try. Wanted to see if honesty could cut through the poison. "I'm giving them a choice," I said finally. "They can face the truth, and we can try to heal. Or they can double down on lies, and I walk away forever. But either way, I'm done being the punching bag for Derek's failures." Christmas morning arrived cold and clear. I dressed carefully in a simple sweater and slacks, nothing flashy, nothing that could be seen as showing off. I loaded my car with the wrapped evidence packets, disguised as Christmas gifts in festive paper. The USB drive went in my pocket. I had also written a letter, longhand, explaining everything I felt. It was my insurance policy, my final statement if things went completely wrong. Jennifer called as I was leaving. "Good luck. I'm here if you need me. Call me when it's over. Thank you for everything. Go get your justice." I arrived at my parents' house at noon. Christmas dinner was planned for 3 o'clock, giving plenty of time for family to gather. Cars already lined the street. I recognized Uncle Raymond's truck, Aunt Margaret's sedan, various cousins' vehicles. They were all here for the show. I grabbed the first load of wrapped packets from my trunk and headed inside. The house was warm and loud, filled with conversation and Christmas music. The tree lights twinkled in the corner. The dining table was extended to its full length, set for 25 people. My entrance caused a ripple of reaction. Some faces lit up with genuine warmth. Cousin Timothy waved from across the room. Aunt Margaret hurried over for a hug, but others were cold. Uncle Raymond barely nodded. Cousin Patricia, who I had always gotten along with, gave me a tight smile that did not reach her eyes and made a comment under her breath. "Nice of you to show up." Thought you were too important now. I kept my expression neutral and friendly. Good to see everyone. Merry Christmas. Derek appeared from the kitchen, wearing his fake brotherly smile. He clapped me on the shoulder. Ivan, good to see you, little brother. Let me help you with those presents. That's okay. I got it. No, no, I insist. He tried to take the packages from my arms. I held firm. Really, Derek, I'm fine. I'll put them under the tree myself. For just a second, his mask slipped, and I saw something ugly flash in his eyes. Then the smile was back. Sure, whatever you want. I placed the 25 wrapped packets under the tree carefully, arranging them with the name tags visible. Derek watched with barely concealed excitement, thinking these were normal Christmas gifts, not knowing they contained the evidence that would destroy his plan. Amber watched from across the room, arms crossed, smirking. My mother Carol was in full hostess mode, bustling around, making sure everything was perfect for the big moment. My father Frank sat in his recliner, pretending to watch a football game, but I caught him glancing at me with an expression I could not quite read. I made small talk, helped set the table, acted completely normal. Inside, my heart raced, but outwardly, I was calm. I had learned something in my years in marketing. The presentation matters. Confidence and composure can win a room before you even speak. Dinner preparation continued. I found myself in the kitchen at one point with Aunt Margaret, who pulled me aside. Ivan, honey, is everything okay? You seem tense. I almost told her everything right then, but I held back. Just the usual holiday stress, Aunt Margaret. Nothing to worry about. She patted my hand. Well, you know you can talk to me about anything. If only she knew what was coming. More family arrived. Cousins I had not seen in years. Aunts and uncles from both sides. People who had known me since childhood. Some greeted me warmly. Others were distant. I could feel Derek's poison working in their responses to me. At 2:30, Derek pulled me aside, pretending to show me something in the garage. Once we were alone, his mask dropped completely. Enjoying yourself, little brother? It's nice to see everyone. Is it? He leaned against Dad's workbench, arms crossed. Because after today, I don't think you're going to want to see any of us ever again. I met his eyes. Why do you hate me so much, Derek? He laughed, but there was no humor in it. Hate you? I don't hate you. I just think it's time everyone saw the real Ivan. The fraud. The fake. The guy who thinks he's better than all of us. I never thought I was better than anyone. Bull, you went off to your fancy college, got your fancy job, bought your fancy house, and you left us all behind. You think we don't see it? You think we don't know you look down on us? That's not true. I worked hard for what I have. That doesn't mean I look down on anyone. You refused to help me when I needed you. His voice rose slightly. I asked you for one thing, and you turned your back on family. Your business plan was unrealistic. I couldn't afford to lose that money. You didn't even try. You just wrote me off like I was nothing. Like my dream didn't matter. Your dream mattered. But I couldn't make it come true for you. That was your responsibility. He pushed off the workbench, getting in my face. Well, today's your reckoning, little brother. Today everyone sees what you really are. I held my ground. Well, see about that. He smiled then, cruel and confident. Yes, we will. We went back inside. Derek was practically vibrating with anticipation. Amber kept checking her phone for the time. Mom kept arranging and rearranging the table settings. The performance was about to begin. At 3 o'clock, everyone gathered. The extended tables in the dining room and living room were packed. Traditional Christmas fare covered every surface. Turkey, ham, mashed potatoes, stuffing, green bean casserole, cranberry sauce, sweet potato casserole, rolls. It looked like a magazine spread. We said grace, though I noticed Derek's impatience during the prayer. Then we ate. For the first hour, everything seemed almost normal. Stories were shared. Some genuine laughter rang out. Aunt Margaret told the story about the year Derek and I tried to stay up to catch Santa, and both fell asleep by 9 o'clock. People asked about my job, and I kept my answers brief and humble, but I could feel the tension underneath. The waiting. Then Mom tapped her glass with a spoon. The crystal ring silenced the room. Everyone, I want to take a moment before we have dessert. Her voice was serious, her expression grave. As you know, family is everything to us. And honesty is the foundation of family. Here we go, I thought. Unfortunately, Not everyone in this family values honesty. Her eyes found mine across the table. Some people pretend to be something they're not. Murmurs around the table. Confused looks. My youngest son, Ivan, has portrayed himself as successful, educated, ethical. She paused for effect. But we've discovered some troubling truths. I took a sip of water, keeping my expression neutral. Let them play their hand. Derek stood up, remote control in hand. I think it's time everyone saw the real Ivan. He connected his laptop to the TV. The first slide appeared. Ivan's stolen success. The room went completely silent as Derek began his presentation. He showed the fabricated thesis plagiarism evidence, explaining in grave tones how I had supposedly copied someone else's work to earn my college degree. He made it sound damning, showing side-by-side comparisons of text that he claimed was stolen. Gasps echoed around the room. Aunt Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. Cousin Patricia shook her head slowly. Ivan's entire academic achievement is built on a lie, Derek said. He didn't earn his degree honestly. He cheated. Next came the fake emails. Derek claimed they showed inappropriate communications between me and my boss, Patricia Gomez. He did not read them aloud, thank God. But he described them as sexually explicit and proof of an affair that led to his undeserved promotion. Uncle Raymond made a disgusted sound. Aunt Margaret looked like she might cry. Frank shook his head, disappointment written on his face. The final slide showed the photoshopped images. And here's the real kicker, Derek continued. Ivan wants us all to think he's successful and responsible. But look at this. Sports cars, designer furniture, Hez drowning in debt, trying to keep up appearances, living a lie. He clicked through several images, each one showing me supposedly living far beyond my means. Hez not the responsible, successful son he pretends to be. Hez a fraud in every possible way. The murmurs grew louder. Faces that had been friendly an hour ago now looked at me with suspicion or outright hostility. Derek closed his laptop and faced me directly. And 5 years ago, when I needed family support, when I asked Ivan to invest in my business, he turned his back on me. He refused to help because he thought he was too good for my dream. If he had supported me, if he had believed in family the way he claims to, my business would still be running, but his selfishness destroyed that opportunity. His voice rose with righteous anger. I think it's only fair that Ivan pay me back for the losses his betrayal caused. $50,000. That's what his refusal cost me. That's what he owes this family. The room erupted. Some voices supported Derek. Family helps family. He should make it right. Others seemed uncertain, looking between Derek and me. Through all of this, I sat quietly, my hands folded on the table, my expression calm. I had not touched my dessert. I simply watched and waited. Finally, Mom addressed me directly. Well, Ivan, what do you have to say for yourself? I could feel every eye in the room on me. 25 people waiting for my response. Some wanting me to have an explanation. Others ready to condemn me. I stood slowly and pulled out my phone. Before I respond, I need to check something. I called Jennifer on speaker. Her voice came through clear and professional. Ivan. Jen. Did you send the packages? Yes. They were delivered 10 minutes ago. Signed for by Carol. I smiled slightly. Perfect. Thank you. I hung up. The room was confused now, the energy shifting. Mom looked puzzled. What packages? My gift to all of you. It should be arriving right about. The doorbell rang. Now. Derek rushed to the door, thinking quickly, probably hoping to intercept whatever was coming. But when he opened it, his face went pale. On the porch sat a large box, professionally packaged, with a shipping label that read, "The Truth. Open immediately." He brought it inside with shaking hands. The room watched in confused silence as he set it on the coffee table and opened it. Inside were 25 manila envelopes, each one labeled with a family member's name. I walked over calmly and took control of the situation. I think everyone should open their gift at the same time. I began distributing the envelopes. Derek's hands trembled as he took his. Mom's confident expression had been replaced with uncertainty. Amber looked nervous. I handed one to Uncle Raymond, to Aunt Margaret, to every single person in the room. Please, I said, my voice carrying despite its calmness. Everyone open them. The sound of tearing paper filled the room. Then silence as people began to read. The envelopes contained everything. My real college thesis, with official verification from the university registrar. Professor Brennan's written statement confirming the work was original, along with his contact information for anyone who wanted to verify. Side-by-side analysis showing that Derek's supposed plagiarism evidence used a source document published 3 months after I graduated, making the accusation impossible. There were statements from my HR department about my merit-based promotion, documentation of my client retention statistics, and the major accounts I brought in, character references from my colleagues and supervisors. My actual financial records were included, showing modest spending and responsible debt management. Vehicle registration for my practical sedan, not a sports car. Mortgage statements showing I paid on time every month. Credit report demonstrating financial stability. And most damning of all, a comprehensive forensic analysis by Marcus Brenner, complete with his credentials, explaining in detailed but accessible language exactly how Derek had fabricated every piece of his evidence. The analysis pointed out every digital fingerprint, every impossible date, every technical flaw that proved the documents were forged. The silence stretched as people read. I watched faces change. Confusion gave way to shock. Shock gave way to anger. But that anger was no longer directed at me. Uncle Raymond looked up first, his face red. "Derek, what the hell is this?" Aunt Margaret's hands shook as she held the papers. Tears streamed down her face. "Ivan, I'm so sorry." I believed him. I actually believed him. Cousin Timothy stood up, furious. "You tried to destroy your own brother?" With lies. One by one, family members turned on Derek. The accusations flew. "How could you make up something like this?" "I defended you to my friends. This is sick." Derek's face had gone from pale to flushed. He was cornered, exposed. Amber looked like she wanted to disappear into the floor. Mom tried to intervene. "Now, everyone, let's just calm down. We didn't know the evidence was fake. We thought we were protecting the family from." I cut her off, my voice still calm but with an edge of steel. "Mom, you organized this entire event specifically to humiliate me in front of everyone. You wanted to destroy my reputation. You coordinated with Derek and Amber to plan the perfect public shaming. We were trying to bring you back down to earth, to make you remember where you came from. By accusing me of plagiarism, of sleeping my way to a promotion, of being a debt-ridden fraud." My voice rose slightly now, emotion breaking through. "That's not loving correction, Mom. That's character assassination." Frank finally spoke, his voice gruff with discomfort. "Son," we thought. "Dad, you sat there and let this happen. You looked at me with disgust, without even asking for my side of the story, without even questioning whether any of it was true." I turned to address the room, all 25 people who had come to watch me be torn down. "Some of you have been cold to me for months. Some of you believed Derek's stories without ever asking me directly. That hurts almost as much as the betrayal from my own immediate family. Ivan, I'm so sorry." Aunt Margaret stood, came to me, hugged me tight. "I should have come to you first. I should have asked questions." A few others murmured similar sentiments, but many sat in stunned silence, processing. Then, I pulled the USB drive from my pocket. "There's more. If I may use your TV, Derek." Derek did not respond. He was frozen in place, his plan in ruins around him. I connected the drive myself. The video began to play. Professor Brennan appeared on screen, sitting in his book-lined office. His silver hair and academic bearing commanded immediate respect. "I'm Professor Harold Brennan, and I supervised Ivan's senior thesis on contemporary marketing strategies in digital spaces. His work was entirely original, and one of the best I've supervised in 30 years of teaching." Next came Patricia Gomez from my company's HR department. Ivan's promotion to marketing director was based solely on merit. He increased our client retention by 42% and brought in 3 major accounts worth over $2 million annually. His work ethic and integrity are beyond reproach. Any suggestion otherwise is defamatory and actionable. Then, Marcus Brenner, the forensic expert, appeared. He methodically explained how the fake documents were created, pointing out every flaw in Derek's fabrications. These forgeries were created deliberately to deceive. They have no basis in reality whatsoever. The final segment showed footage of my real life. My actual house, modest and well-kept. My practical sedan parked in the driveway. Awards from my company, photos from work events, testimonials from colleagues, a simple, honest life built on hard work. When the video ended, the room remained silent for a long moment. Then Uncle Raymond stood, pulled out his phone, and started dialing. "I'm calling the police. This is fraud. This is defamation." I held up my hand. "Wait, I'm not done yet." Everyone froze. I pulled out one more document from my jacket pocket and unfolded it slowly. "There's something else you all should know. 3 months ago, Derek and Amber tried to take out a loan using my name and social security number." Gasps filled the room. I held up the credit report, showing the inquiry that had been flagged as suspicious by the bank. Identity theft. They were going to use this to claim I was drowning in debt, to support their lies about my financial irresponsibility. The bank contacted me. I didn't press charges at the time because I thought it might have been a mistake. Now I understand it was part of this elaborate plan. Amber went completely pale. Derek started backing toward the door. Uncle Raymond's phone was already to his ear. "I'm calling right now. Uncle Raymond, please, put the phone down. I'm not done yet." The room felt electric with tension. 25 people held their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Derek stood by the door, looking like a cornered animal. Amber had sunk into a chair, her hands covering her face. Mom and Dad looked shell-shocked, their plan to humble me having backfired spectacularly. I stood at the head of the table now, the natural center of attention. It was surreal. This reversal of power. "I want to address each of you directly," I said, my voice carrying despite its relative quietness. I turned to Derek first. "You're my brother. We grew up in the same house, shared the same room for 15 years. You taught me how to throw a football. You stood up for me when that kid Jason tried to bully me in middle school. I looked up to you, Derek. I really did." His jaw clenched, but he said nothing. "When your business failed, it wasn't my fault. You chose a risky venture without experience or a sound business plan. The location was terrible. Your overhead was too high. Your revenue projections were fantasy. I didn't refuse to invest out of selfishness. I refused because I was drowning in student loan debt and I knew the business would fail. And I was right. It did fail. But instead of accepting responsibility, learning from it, and moving forward, you blamed me. You spent 5 years building resentment. You turned that resentment into hatred, and you channeled that hatred into this." I gestured at the TV, at the evidence scattered across the room. "You created fake documents to destroy my reputation. You tried to steal my identity. You poisoned our family against me. You spent months planning to humiliate me publicly." Derek's eyes were on the floor, his hands balled into fists at his sides. I turned to Amber. "And you helped him. You wrote the speech Mom was supposed to give. You encouraged his worst impulses instead of being a voice of reason. You have 2 beautiful children upstairs playing with their cousins. What kind of example does this set for them? That when someone succeeds, you tear them down? That family means helping each other hurt instead of helping each other grow." Amber was crying now, but they were not tears I felt sympathy for. They were tears of being caught, not tears of genuine remorse. I turned to my mother. "Mom, you gave birth to me. You raised me. You were at every school play, every science fair, every graduation. You told me to dream big and work hard. And I did. I did exactly what you taught me to do." Carol's face crumbled. "Sweetheart, And then, when I succeeded, when I actually achieved those dreams, you resented it. You saw my success as abandonment. You organized this dinner specifically to tear me down. You invited everyone we know to witness it. You didn't do this out of love or concern. You did it out of bitterness. We were afraid we'd lose you," she whispered. "So you tried to destroy me instead? That makes no sense. Mom, that's not love. That's control." I turned to my father. "Dad, you always taught me to work hard, be honest, and stand up for myself. You said a man's character is defined by how he treats people and how he handles adversity. I've tried to live by those values every day of my life." Frank met my eyes finally, his own watering. "And tonight, you sat there silent while they tried to destroy everything I've built. You looked at me with disappointment and disgust without asking a single question. You were ready to believe the worst of me without giving me a chance to defend myself. Where was the man who taught me to stand up for what's right?" His voice was rough. "Son, you sided with Derek's lies over my truth. You enabled his victim mentality instead of helping him take responsibility. You chose comfort over integrity. I turned back to the room, to my extended family. Some of you believed these lies immediately. You didn't come to me with questions or concerns. You just accepted Derek's story and turned cold. Aunt Margaret, Cousin Timothy, a few others. You stayed warm and welcoming. And I won't forget that. But too many of you were ready to think the worst of me. I took a deep breath. I have two options here. Option 1. I press charges against Derek and Amber for identity theft, fraud, and defamation. I sue Mom and Dad for conspiracy and emotional distress. I walk out of here and never speak to any of you again. The room was deathly silent. Option 2. We have a real conversation. An honest one. About what went wrong, how we got here, and whether this family can be salvaged. I let that hang in the air for a moment. But option 2 requires something from all of you. Accountability. Derek, you need to publicly admit what you did. To everyone here, to everyone you told lies to over the past months, you need to get professional help for whatever drove you to this level of cruelty. And you need to stop blaming me for your failures. Derek's shoulders shook. He was crying now. Mom, Dad, you need to acknowledge that you enabled Derek's resentment instead of helping him work through it healthily. You need to stop treating my success as a threat. You need to understand that supporting one son doesn't require tearing down the other. And all of you, I swept my gaze around the room, need to understand something fundamental. I don't owe anyone money. I don't owe apologies for succeeding. I built my life through hard work and sacrifice. That doesn't make me better than anyone. But it also doesn't make me worse. It just makes me different. And different should be okay in a family. The silence stretched. Then Derek collapsed into a chair, his head in his hands, sobbing. I'm sorry. God, Ivan, I'm so sorry. His voice was broken, raw. I was jealous. You always got good grades, scholarships, opportunities. Everything came easy to you while I struggled. And when you went off to college and I stayed here working at the hardware store, I felt like the failure brother, the stupid one, the one who didn't measure up. He looked up, his face streaked with tears. When my business failed, it confirmed every fear I had, that I was worthless, that I would never be as good as you. And instead of dealing with that, instead of getting help, I decided to tear you down. I thought if I could prove you weren't perfect, if I could show everyone you had flaws too, it would make me feel better. It didn't work, did it? I said quietly. No. It made everything worse. The lies got bigger, the hate got stronger, and I couldn't stop. I was so deep into it that backing out would mean admitting I was wrong. So, I just kept going. My mother was crying too now. Ivan, I thought if we kept you humble, if we reminded you of where you came from, you wouldn't leave us completely. I was terrified you'd move across the country, start a new life, and forget about us. So you tried to destroy me to keep me close? Mom, that's not how love works. I know. I see that now. I was so backwards in my thinking. We pushed you away by trying to hold you too tight. Frank stood and walked over to me. His movements were slow, like those of a man carrying a heavy burden. Son, I was wrong. His voice cracked. I saw Derek struggling, and I overcompensated. I made excuses for him. I enabled his victim mentality because I didn't want to face the fact that he needed real help, not coddling. And I punished you for succeeding, because every achievement you had highlighted, Derek's struggles, that wasn't fair to either of you. I failed as a father to both my sons. He extended his hand. I'm sorry. I looked at that hand for a long moment. Dad's hand, rough from decades of electrical work, the hand that had taught me to use tools, to fish, to fix things, the hand that had also stayed silent while they tried to destroy me. Just then, my phone rang. Jennifer's name flashed on the screen. I answered. Ivan, I just got a call from your office. There's an emergency with the Thompson account. The client is threatening to walk, and they're demanding you handle it personally. They need you there within the hour. The Thompson account was our biggest client. $300,000 a year in revenue. Losing them would be a disaster for my division. I looked around the room, at Derek, broken and crying, at Mom and Dad, finally showing genuine remorse, at extended family watching to see what I would do. This was the moment of potential reconciliation, the turning point where healing could begin. Or I could leave for work and prove Derek's accusation right. That my career mattered more than family. Derek's voice was quiet, but I heard it clearly. Go ahead. Your job is more important than us. It always has been. Everyone was watching me. Waiting. I looked at my phone, then at my family. The weight of the decision pressed down on me. Derek's words hung in the air. A final accusation wrapped in resignation. But something about it bothered me. The timing was too convenient. I looked at Derek more closely. There was something in his expression, a flicker of something that made me suspicious. Jennifer, I said into the phone, can you hold for just 1 second? I muted the call and stared at Derek. You called my office, didn't you? His eyes widened slightly. You or Amber. You found out about the Thompson account somehow. You knew it was important. You called and created a fake emergency, hoping it'd leave right at this moment. One final trick to prove I value my career over family. Derek's face told me everything I needed to know. Well, I'm not taking the bait. I unmuted the phone. Jen, I need you to handle the Thompson situation. Use the contingency protocol we discussed last month. You know the account as well as I do. You're fully capable of managing this. Ivan, are you sure? This is really important. So is this. My family needs me here. And honestly, I trust you completely. You've got this. Okay. I'll call you when it's resolved. I hung up and looked at Derek. You're wrong. My job isn't more important than family. But for family to matter, it has to be built on love and respect, not resentment and manipulation. I sat back down at the table. So, let's have that real conversation. Right now, for the next 2 hours, we talked. Really talked. Derek opened up about his insecurities, the deep-seated feeling that he was the dumb brother, the failure. He talked about watching me get acceptance letters to colleges while he barely graduated high school, about watching me get scholarships while he worked at a grocery store, about the shame he felt when his business failed. I've been carrying this weight for so long, he said. This feeling that I was supposed to be the successful one because I'm older, but you passed me by. And instead of being proud of you, I was angry. I'm so tired of being angry. Mom talked about her own fears. When you kids were little, you needed me. I was the center of your world. And then you grew up and moved away, and I felt useless. Irrelevant. Derek stayed close, started a family nearby. You went to the city. I took that personally when I shouldn't have. Your success wasn't rejection of us, but I convinced myself it was. Dad was quiet for a long time before speaking. I grew up with brothers who competed for everything, who saw each other as rivals instead of allies. I swore I wouldn't raise my sons that way. And then I did exactly that. I pitted you against each other by treating Derek's failures as excuses and your success as a threat. I created the competition I wanted to avoid. We talked about the business failure, about Derek's request for investment. I explained in detail why I had said no, not as an attack but as an honest assessment. Derek listened. Really listened this time. The business plan had a 15% profit margin on paper, but that assumed perfect conditions. No slow months, no equipment failures, no unexpected costs. Real restaurants operate on 3 to 5% margins in the best scenarios. Your overhead was too high. Your location was sandwiched between 2 established sports bars. You were counting on luring their customers away, but they'd been there for years with loyal followings. Derek nodded slowly. The consultant I hired told me what I wanted to hear. He took my money and gave me rosy projections. I ignored the warning signs because I wanted it to work so badly. I should have explained all that better at the time, I admitted. I should have sat down with you and gone through the numbers instead of just saying no. That was cold of me. No. You were right to say no. I would have lost your money too, and then I'd have that guilt on top of everything else. Aunt Margaret spoke up from across the room. I owe you an apology too, Ivan. When Derek told me you had plagiarized your thesis, I believed it without question. I should have known better. You were always such a careful, conscientious student. Uncle Raymond added, I said some things behind your back. About you getting too big for your britches. That wasn't fair. I was projecting my own insecurities onto you. One by one, extended family members offered apologies. Not all of them. Some people left early, uncomfortable with the emotional honesty. But enough of them to matter. Cousin Timothy said something that stuck with me. We live in a culture that tells us someone else's success diminishes us. That if you win, I lose. That's poison. Your success doesn't take anything away from anyone else. It should inspire us, not threaten us. As evening fell and dessert was finally served, hours later than planned, the atmosphere in the house had completely changed. The tension was gone, replaced by exhaustion but also a fragile hope. Derek pulled me aside while others were cleaning up. I need to tell you something else, something I haven't said to anyone. We stepped out onto the back porch, into the cold December air. I've been seeing things lately, he said, having dark thoughts. About myself, about my worth. Amber's been worried. She wanted me to see someone, but I refused. I told her I just needed to take you down a peg and then I'd feel better. Derek, I know now how messed up that was. I need help, Ivan. Real help. Professional help. I'm scared of what I became, of what I was willing to do. It'll help you find a good therapist. There's no shame in getting help. I don't deserve your help. You're my brother. Despite everything, you're still my brother. We stood there in the cold for a moment. Then Derek said quietly, I need to make this right. Publicly. Everyone I told lies to, I need to tell them the truth. That's going to be hard. I know. But it's what I need to do. We went back inside. Dad was in his recliner, staring at the TV but not really watching. I sat in the chair next to him. You still mad at me, son? He asked. I'm hurt. There's a difference. I understand that. But I'm willing to work through it, if you're willing to do the work too. He nodded. He'll do whatever it takes. Mom called everyone back to the living room. Before anyone leaves, I think we need to acknowledge something as a family. We all participated in this, some more than others, but we all failed Ivan tonight, and we need to commit to doing better. She looked at me. Ivan, I can't undo what I did, but I can promise to do better going forward, to celebrate your successes instead of fearing them, to treat both my sons equally, to be the mother you deserve. Derek stood up. And I need to say something to everyone here. What I did was unforgivable. I created lies, fake evidence, spread rumors, all to destroy my brother because I was jealous. I need professional help and am going to get it, but more than that, I need to make amends. If any of you heard rumors about Ivan from me, they were lies. All of them. The truth is, Ivan is everything he appears to be. Hardworking, honest, successful on his own merits. I'm the fraud, not him. Amber stood next to him, and I helped him. I was wrong. I'm sorry. As the evening wound down and people started to leave, there were more hugs than there had been in years. Real hugs, not the obligatory holiday kind. Aunt Margaret held me tight and whispered, I'm proud of you, for standing up for yourself and for giving them another chance. By 9 o'clock, only the immediate family remained. We sat in the living room, exhausted. My phone rang. Jennifer, how did it go? I asked. Thompson account is secure. Turns out they weren't actually threatening to leave. Someone called the office claiming to be Thompson's CEO, but it was a fake. Our actual contact at Thompson had no idea what was going on. We called them to verify and they're fine. I looked at Derek. He had the grace to look ashamed. Thanks for handling it, Jen. Are you okay? How did everything go there? It went. Surprisingly well. He'll tell you everything tomorrow. After I hung up, I shared what Jennifer had said. Derek apologized again for the fake emergency call. It was my last desperate move. I thought if you left, it would prove I was right about you. I'm sorry. We talked more, working through logistics. Derek agreed to see a therapist the week after Christmas. Mom and Dad promised to attend family counseling with both of us. We set up a schedule for regular family dinners, smaller gatherings where we could rebuild trust slowly. This isn't fixed, I said clearly. Trust is broken. It's going to take time to rebuild. We understand, Dad said. However long it takes, and there are boundaries now. If anyone betrays me again, I'm done. No second chances after this. Fair enough, Mom agreed. At 10 o'clock, I stood to leave. Derek walked me to my car. Ivan, thank you. For what? For not giving up on us. For fighting back with truth instead of just walking away. For being the bigger person. I didn't do it to be the bigger person. I did it because I refused to let your bitterness define my relationships. But Derek, you need to understand something. I stood up for myself tonight. I will always stand up for myself. The old Ivan who just took it, who tried to keep the peace by staying quiet, he's gone. If you come at me again, I'll defend myself again. And next time, I might not be so forgiving. I understand, and I won't. I swear. I drove home through empty Christmas night streets, my mind racing. When I got home, Jennifer was waiting on my porch. I couldn't wait until tomorrow, she said. Tell me everything. I did. We sat up until midnight while I recounted the entire evening. She listened, holding my hand, occasionally gasping or squeezing my fingers when the story got intense. I'm so proud of you, she said when I finished. You handled that perfectly. Did I? I feel like I could have been crueler. Part of me wanted to be. But you weren't. You were honest and firm, but you also left room for redemption. That takes strength. I don't know if it's strength or stupidity. It's definitely strength. You stood up for yourself while refusing to become what they accused you of being. That's powerful. 3 months passed. March arrived with rain and the first hints of spring. The time between that Christmas and now had been a journey of small steps and careful rebuilding. Derek started therapy the week after Christmas, seeing a counselor who specialized in family dynamics and self-esteem issues. He called me after his first session, voice shaky. She told me I've been depressed for years. That my anger at you was really anger at myself. I have a lot of work to do. How do you feel about that? Scared, relieved, like maybe there's hope. He attended sessions twice a week. Some weeks were harder than others. He called me once in February, crying. I'm realizing how much damage I did. Not just to you, but to my own kids. They heard me say terrible things about you. What kind of father does that? A father who's learning to do better. I told him. That's what matters now. Derek did what he promised. He reached out to every extended family member, every friend, every person he had told lies to. He admitted the truth, explained what he had done, and apologized. It was humiliating for him, but he did it anyway. Uncle Raymond told me later, your brother called me, told me the whole truth. That took guts. I respect him more for owning up to it than I ever did when he was making excuses. Mom started calling me every Sunday evening, not to ask for anything, just to talk, to ask about my week, my work, my life with Jennifer. She told me about her week too, sharing small details. It felt like getting to know her as a person, not just as my mother. I'm learning that I made my identity about being your mother, she said one evening. And when you didn't need me anymore in the same way, I felt lost. I'm working on finding myself outside of that role. Dad came to visit my house in February. Just him. A rare solo trip. We spent the afternoon working on a project together, fixing a loose deck railing. It reminded me of when I was young, handing him tools, learning by watching. You've built a good life, he said, looking around my modest but comfortable home. I was wrong to resent it. I should have been celebrating with you. Why weren't you? He was quiet for a while, measuring a piece of wood. I think I saw your success as evidence of my failure. Like, if you needed to move away and build a different life, it meant the life I gave you wasn't good enough. But that's my insecurity, not your reality. The life you gave me was good. Dad, you taught me to work hard, to be honest, to stand up for myself. I used those lessons to build this. You should be proud of that. I am now. Jennifer met my family properly in January, at a small dinner at my house. Mom was nervous, trying too hard to be welcoming. Dad was gruff but kind. Derek and Amber were on their best behavior. It went better than I expected. After they left, Jennifer said, your family is complicated. That's one word for it, but they're trying. I can see that. Yeah, they are. Things were not perfect. Some extended family members never apologized, stayed distant. Cousin Patricia stopped coming to family events. Uncle Raymond's wife made it clear she thought I should just forgive and forget without all the drama. But enough people stepped up that the family felt different, healthier. Derek got a new job in March, working at a manufacturing plant, with better pay and benefits than the hardware store. He seemed lighter, less burdened. He stopped by my house one Saturday with his kids. I wanted them to really know their uncle, he said. Not the uncle I made up to make myself feel better, but the real you. I took my nephew and niece to a nearby park. We played on the swings and I listened to them talk about school and their favorite TV shows. Simple, normal, good. When we got back, Derek pulled me aside. I have something for you. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a check for the amount I had spent on the forensic analyst the lawyer consultation, all the costs of defending myself. Derek, you don't have to. I know, but I want to. It's a start. I looked at the check, then at him. Then I tore it in half. Keep your money. Just be my brother, the real version, not the bitter one. That's all I need. He hugged me then, and for the first time in years, it felt genuine. It was now early April, a few days before Easter. I was at my parents' house for a smaller gathering, just immediate family. We were sitting around the table after dinner, talking about nothing important. Derek made a joke, and Dad laughed. Mom smiled watching all of us together. Amber asked Jennifer about her job and actually listened to the answer. It felt normal in a way it had not in years. Later, I stood on the back porch with Derek, like we had that Christmas night. You saved us, he said. No, you saved yourself by being willing to change. I just refused to let you destroy me in the process. Same thing. It's really not. We watched the sunset, the sky turning orange and pink. Ivan, can I ask you something? Sure. Do you forgive me? Really forgive me? I thought about it carefully. I'm working on it. Some days are easier than others. When I remember what you did, how you tried to destroy everything I worked for, it still hurts. But I also see how hard you're working to change. Forgiveness is a process, not a switch. Ask me again in a year. That's fair. We went back inside. The house was warm and filled with the sound of family. Not perfect, but real. As I drove home that night, Jennifer beside me, I reflected on everything that had happened. That Christmas had changed my life in ways I never expected. I learned that standing up for yourself does not mean abandoning people you love. It means refusing to accept abuse disguised as love. It means setting boundaries and enforcing them. It means being willing to walk away, which paradoxically makes staying possible. I learned that success can threaten people, especially those closest to you. But their reaction to your success says more about them than about you. You cannot make yourself smaller to make others feel bigger. That serves no one. I learned that real family celebrates each other, does not tear each other down. And when family fails you, you have every right to defend yourself, to demand better, to set the terms of reconciliation. Most importantly, I learned that sometimes the only way to save a family is to be willing to lose it. My willingness to walk away forever, to press charges, to cut them off completely, that was what made them take me seriously. That was what made change possible. Because you cannot have real love without respect. And you cannot have respect without boundaries. Now, when my family looks at me, they do not see someone to resent or tear down. They see someone who fought for himself and gave them a chance to be better. And that is the greatest gift we gave each other that Christmas. The truth and a second chance. Would I go through it again? No. It was painful and traumatic and damaged me in ways I am still processing. But I would make the same choices. I would stand up for myself. I would demand accountability. I would offer reconciliation only on terms that respected my dignity. That Christmas taught me that you cannot control how people treat you, but you can control how you respond. You can choose to be a victim, or you can choose to be a survivor who sets boundaries. I chose the latter, and it made all the difference. My relationship with Jennifer deepened through all of this. She saw me at my most vulnerable and stood by me. She helped me strategize without making me feel weak for needing help. She celebrated my strength without diminishing my pain. In May, I plan to propose to her. She is the family I chose, and choosing family is just as important as the family you are born into. Derek continues therapy and is doing better. He told me recently that he has not felt this clear-headed in years. Mom and Dad attend counseling together and are working on their own issues. The extended family has settled into a new normal, where some people are close and others are distant, and that is okay. Life is not a movie with a neat resolution. Healing is messy and nonlinear. There are still hard days when old resentments surface, but the trajectory is upward, and that is what matters. I share this story not as a tale of triumph, though there is triumph in it. I share it as a testament to the power of standing up for yourself, of refusing to accept mistreatment, of demanding that people rise to meet your standards rather than lowering yourself to meet theirs. If you are in a situation where family or loved ones are tearing you down, know this. You are not obligated to accept it. You are allowed to defend yourself. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to demand better. And if they cannot or will not do better, you are allowed to walk away. That is not cruelty. That is self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of everything else. So here is my question for you. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who were tearing you down? How did you handle it? What would you do differently? I would love to hear your stories in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, if it made you think about your own family dynamics, or gave you courage to set boundaries in your own life, please hit that like button. Subscribe to hear more stories about real people navigating difficult situations with honesty and courage. And share this with someone who needs to hear it, someone who might be struggling with similar family dynamics. Thank you for listening to my story. Thank you for being part of this community where we can share our experiences and support each other. Remember, your worth is not determined by how others treat you. It is determined by how you treat yourself and what standards you hold others to in your life. Take care of yourselves. Set boundaries. Stand up for your truth. And never apologize for refusing to accept less than you deserve. Until next time.